Four Knights of the Apocalypse chapter 77 is out, and I have to say this is another banger chapter with, honestly, a really good fight. Well, I say fight, between Tristan and Arthur, showing the gap between their power levels, and also showing why Arthur is there as well, showing Arthur's influence and just charisma as a leader and king, and even gives us a bit of insight to how he came to his current conclusion of what his eternal kingdom is about. So I'm not going to get too into it because that's basically what this whole chapter is about. All I gotta say is another really good chapter, and the ending is honestly getting me hyped for next week. But yeah, let's hit that intro and get right into the video. Chapter 77 of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, titled King's Authority. We start off exactly from last week, with Tristan basically charging straight towards Arthur. As Arthur saying, you're very different from my first impression of you. It's honestly something that I expected, that this turn from Arthur was relatively recent, so perhaps he did meet Tristan shortly after he was born, a couple of years ago, which makes sense, because Arthur and Nellie always kind of had left off on friendly terms. They were still friends, mentor and mentee. So it makes sense. Either that or I'm reading too much into this. But Arthur goes on to say that it's as if you're a bloodthirsty beast. Could it be the evil demon clan's blood in you? As Tristan's just like, enough of your prattle. As he charges towards Arthur, and Arthur does the same thing that he did to Percival to Tristan, knocking him back seemingly without any real effort or even moving an inch, showing just how great of a difference in power they have, as Tristan is knocked back from the top of the staircase all the way down to the ground in a giant blow to the ground. So there isn't really emotion in this panel that shows Arthur actually used his arm, which is something that people have speculated that he used his right arm to like knock back Percival last time. But in this one, it just seems like he literally just used his sheer aura and presence just to bounce Tristan back, which is honestly really cool. And it shows just how much of a powerhouse Arthur himself actually is, and you've come to expect this as he's been built up to be the main villain of the series, and he's got the power of chaos, making him virtually a god in this world. So you have to assume that he can do a lot of crazy shit. So after Tristan gets knocked back to the ground, we see the huge gust of air from the impact. Everyone is wondering if Tristan is alright. And then we get Hendrickson's dialogue asking if it's really the same boy that he's met all those years ago. And I like that we got this one image of Tristan seemingly knocked out with like a blow straight to the chest, denting his armor. So maybe it could have been his hand, but I feel like it could have just been like a sheer blast from Arthur himself without having to move an inch. But yeah, Dreyfus tries to get all the knights to rally to go and charge against Arthur in a unified assault. Now that didn't work against Meligaland, so how is this going to work against their boss, who basically gave them their powers and just sent them in to be like kind of like literally just a distraction, and they couldn't even handle that. So that's kind of something to think about. Arthur looks down, and then he ends up creating a bunch of blades in the air out of pure light from the looks of it. Which, this is an honest to God, really awesome panel. As if he's about to, like he opened up the gates of Babylon. If you watched the Fate Stay Night or Fate Zero, you know what I'm talking about with the whole Gilgamesh portals with a bunch of different weapons. This gives off that vibe. He doesn't use these to attack though. He creates them out of nothing, but it seems like everyone around, including Percival, can't move. Gawain seems to be perfectly fine being able to move, but Percival, Donnie, the Holy Knights, Nazians, they can't move. As the magic is stated by one of the Fodder Knights to be somewhat majestic. And Nazians brings up, it's like, I instinctually don't want to oppose him. So, this is really like a big thing, as Arthur says, prostrate before the king's authority, ye who are complicit in evil. So, if I'm going to draw comparisons to another series, like, I don't know, oh man, I'm gonna mention One Piece in a Four Knights video again. Oh man. Alright. I'm sorry, but this is literally feeling like conqueror's hockey, or literally just the sheer presence of Arthur is literally making it so that any human in the area, or anyone in the area, just does not want to fight him. He is technically housing the power of the being that basically created everything in this world, so it makes sense that he would give off an aura that nobody would want to oppose. So yeah, he still views everyone as evil who basically is working with the sins and all the different races. And when we cut back to An, who she ran into town to try and get everybody away from the battle that was going on with Meligaland, so that they wouldn't get caught up in the destruction and get themselves injured or killed. And she goes on to assure them that the Holy Knights and her friends will stop this evil, with the townsfolk being like, that's kind of a lot to tell us all at once. But then all of a sudden, Arthur starts to talk, introducing himself to the citizens of Leonis, as he announced himself as King Arthur Pendragon, the king of the southernmost kingdom, Camelot, which was once destroyed in the holy war between the Demon King and the 7 deadly sins. And it's stated that it's as if he's speaking to them directly into their heads, which is something really cool. So Arthur, despite being far away, I don't know if there's a limit to how far he can reach, but he can literally go into people, he can literally like have his words reach people as if he's in their heads. So that is just crazy to think about. But he goes on to say that Leonis is going to share the same fate as Camelot did back in the Holy War. Ruination or survival. He goes on to state that as of now, the peace you have is only fleeting. The history of what transpired in Britannia makes that all too clear. The Holy War 3,000 years ago, the Holy War 16 years ago. Battle after bloody battle between different races. And every time we have continued to make sacrifices before those other races. So Arthur's beginning to explain his mentality of his whole, human eternal kingdom for humans and humans alone. Which, after he lost his whole kingdom to, the demon attack and the Demon King during that whole Holy War, sometime over the last 16 years, this mentality has sort of been kind of like drilled home. And I think the Cursed by Life movie also kind of drilled it in. So yeah, I think we're going to get into more of his mentality with his decisions and everything. But Arthur continues to speak. There must be some among you who lost someone dear in the Holy War. Family, friends, leaving scars upon your hearts. Even after 16 years, there are wounds that don't heal so easily. With people in the crowd crying over their lost loved ones, their parents, friends, lovers, etc. Arthur states that the lives of those lost will never return. You will be tormented by the wounds carved into your hearts for the rest of your lives. As the citizens angrily are saying, so what? Even despite all this hardship, we must live on thinking about the dead. But Arthur kind of turns them down, saying, but what if you could see your beloved families again? What if you can confess your love to those who died before you could tell them? What if you could make your unfulfilled wishes come true? And all the citizens are like, there's no way in hell that is possible. Don't take us for fools. As it does come off like he's playing off their emotional weaknesses to kind of manipulate them. But Arthur says, you're wrong. It certainly exists. As we get a full page of Arthur basically like projecting an image based off of how the panel is, of just how his eternal kingdom of Camelot is not plagued by menace or disaster, a land where no one suffers or grieves. That is Camelot. Now, really quick, in this one image, all the way to the top left, if you really look at it, you can see Moonspeed in there. And I'm going to get into this within the next page, but Moonspeed's in there. There's also, I think, an Easter egg to Rising Impact, Mashima's first real serialized series, with like a character named Gawain, which I mentioned in my Gawain video all those months ago. Just thought that was a nice Easter egg that was brought up to me. But everyone in the crowd is like, this is a dream. It's as if I can see them. He's projecting the images of people's loved ones. Even Percival sees his grandfather. As everyone's like, if we really go to Camelot, we will see our loved ones. We'll see my child again. As Arthur is just, my goal is your salvation. Of course, I have no intention of forcing you, but I would like you to think it over. The seven deadly sins are heroes who save the kingdom, indeed. But in the end, they are a medley of other races. It's clear that humans, all of you, will be betrayed by them. Really quick, Ban is still technically human. He was immortal, but he gave up that immortality. Whether or not Arthur still knows that is beyond me, but I get his mentality. Hell, it was even mentioned in the series itself that basically everybody in the seven deadly sins consisted of different races. Meliodas is a demon. King's a fairy, Dian's a giant, Merlin is something. Magician, or I don't know what Merlin is. Gulder's a doll. Hell, Escanor is a human. Escanor was a human before he died. Ban was just an immortal human, so technically he wasn't human anymore. But at the end of the seven sins, he was human. But I'm just getting into semantics now. But I get Arthur's point. The sins aren't comprised of humans, barring Ban. So it's very possible that they don't consider humans all too precious to them and stuff like that. Plus, they have longer lifespans. I get what Arthur is trying to say in this situation, and he's even being like, look, I'm not going to force you to do this, so please just think it over. So, many chapters ago, before the Leonis arc, we were teased with the idea that Arthur could bring back the dead. And seemingly like with this, that seems to be Arthur's ultimate goal, to give people their ideal lives. But mainly just for humans. But as he's giving this speech, Tristan gets back up and launches a giant ball of pure darkness towards Arthur. Which Arthur does kind of block without any real trouble. As he states, as expected of a knight of prophecy, you didn't hesitate to attack me under my king's authority. So yeah, this is meant to keep people from attacking him, but Tristan is built different. And this could be something for all the four knights, as they're meant to oppose King Arthur in the prophecy. But Tristan removes his armor, stating, that deceitful speech of yours, it makes me vomit. As we see Tristan getting ready to battle again, with Arthur very interested. But he says, still young, and he launches a big energy blast towards Tristan. And just before it's about to hit, we hear those ever lovely words, full counter, as the blast is reflected right back at Arthur, with the previous protagonist of the series making his appearance, stating, well, I never thought I'd end up crossing swords with you like this, with everyone recognizing Meliodas, Percival, Dreyfus, and hell, I can't tell if this is Donnie or Gawain saying this, calling Meliodas a shorty. Either way, it's something. Anyway, Arthur can just say, I'm so sorry, but that's just the conclusion I came to. For humans to achieve true peace, we must eradicate all non-human races. As he brings up the words that Meliodas spoke to him back when they first met. You said something to me back then. Once a man makes a vow out loud, he can't just take it back, right? And I like how Arthur still has so much respect for Meliodas, especially bringing back those words of encouragement that he gave him all those years ago. As we get a full page spread of Meliodas in front of Tristan, protecting him, stating, but I'm sure I also said this. Even if you lose your way, the seven deadly sins will be with you. As the chapter ends, Meliodas declares, I'm going to bring you back to your senses, with the next chapter being called A King's Pride, ending the chapter. So this was honestly a really awesome chapter. We honestly got Arthur being a king, showing off just how strong he is by knocking back Tristan with ease. His whole mentality that he came to this conclusion seemingly on his own, and even apologizes to Meliodas when he shows up. And the whole idea that he was able to make it so that no one would be able to oppose him in terms of fighting him with this king's authority. That is very interesting. I want to see more of that. And the fact that Tristan was still able to move, it could be because he's a demon, but I believe it's mainly because he's a knight of prophecy and he's just built different. Meaning Lancelot's going to show up and fight, plus it seems like Gawain was able to move, but for some reason Percival wasn't able to move in that instance. And the idea that he was able to project not just his voice, but also images of people's loved ones into their heads, as he was talking about his ideal kingdom that he wanted to create for the humans. But anyway, speaking of that, really quick, I want to mention, as I said earlier in this review, when we got this whole projection, I said that there was an image of Moonspeed in the top left corner. Now, I don't think this is just an Easter egg, as the whole, Golf Club Gawain thing from that Impact Rising manga that Nakaba used to make. But everyone has speculated that since Derriere was basically reincarnated during the Holy War in the Seven Deadly Sins, that she would be revived, that she would be around 16 years later, and it's very possible. And I believe she'd also retain her memories. With Moonspeed in there, as everyone is picturing their own loved ones that they lost, perhaps Derriere is in that crowd somewhere. And her story could be to reunite with Moonspeed, as since Galland and Melasiel were revived by Chaos, it's very possible that Arthur revived Moonspeed too. But that's kind of grasping at straws. But I do feel like this is not about saying, remember Derriere? Yeah, I didn't forget about her. She's going to have a role in this story at some point. And it's possible she's living in Leonis. Who knows? She could be a holy knight right now. But yeah, this is just a really insane chapter. Meliodas coming in to save the day. Just hearing the words full counter for the first time in like 3 years. I can't believe it's been nearly 3 years since Seven Deadly Sins ended. It's been so long. And having him like bounce back Arthur's attack, having him not really do much because I believe Arthur just blocked it. And just both of them being real friendly. Meliodas wanting to knock Arthur back to his senses, and Arthur just apologizing to Meliodas, even bringing up the advice that he gave him all those years ago, shows that they both still have respect for each other, yet they don't really want to fight each other. But Arthur has to for his ideal kingdom due to the vow that he made, and Meliodas to his vow to bring Arthur back to his senses if he loses his way, which he obviously kind of did. So next chapter is going to be a fight between the Captain of the Sins and the King of Leonis versus the King of Camelot, the King of Chaos. The next chapter is going to be crazy. It's going to be a big fight, and I've been hoping for this ever since Arthur stated that he was going to come to Leonis. But yeah, that's going to be it for this review. It's already long enough as is. I'm making an entirely different video on like Arthur as a whole at some point. I want to wait till this match is over because I feel like this is going to like give us more insight with Arthur and Meliodas and how everything changed. So I'm going to wait till this arc ends, or at least this fight ends, and then I'll make a whole video on Arthur and everything that we've learned so far. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. What did you guys think of this chapter? Leave your thoughts and opinions down below of what's going to happen next. What do you think about Arthur's main goal, his power set so far, and how do you think the fight's going to play out? Leave your thoughts and opinions down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really does help, as it shows that you guys want more Fortnite's content, and I can't wait to keep bringing you guys Fortnite's content on the channel in the future. But it's the end of the video, and there should be a video being recommended to you right now if you want to watch something else. But with all that's said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you all have an awesome day.